Hey guys, so I skipped a week, sorry. Things have been a little crazy, just, finishing up the semester, lots of exams, certifications, all kinds of fun stuff, just getting, ready for clinicals to start. So I've been getting a lot of questions lately about how I study specifically, things like how I study using EGANs because it's a bit of a beast to tackle sometimes. And then also just the different things I do for other classes and, things that have been helpful from my first semester and the second semester. Now, of course, keep in mind that everyone studies a different way, so the things that work for me may not work for you, as well as all of our programs are set up differently. There's some people that are already doing clinicals in their first semester or second semester. I don't do mine until the beginning of my third semester. So keep in mind, the spacing between the classes could be different. And then obviously we all study differently. But hopefully some of the information I give you guys will help you out. And if you guys have anything that you do differently, definitely let me know, leave it down in the comments below and we can talk about it because I always like hearing new ideas also. To start with, some of the things that were helpful from my first semester that I could really apply to many of the classes I had in my second semester, like cardiopulmonary diagnostics and my disease courses, cardiopulmonary anatomy and physiology. Honestly, as respiratory therapists, that's our bread and butter. So keeping in mind the circulation, how each of those systems work, as well as you want to keep the renal system in mind as well, because that's going to have an effect on a lot of the same disease processes that we're dealing with. So you want to keep all of those in mind because, of course, if you know the way the blood circulates through the body, specifically through the heart and lungs, that's going to help you understand what's happening in the different disease processes for some of them. When you're talking about pulmonary emboli, it's going to help you understand how those travel from one area of the body to another. If you know that something is going to cause a backup of blood, depending on where that backup is, you can figure out what some of those signs and symptoms might be. So those are all very important things to keep in mind when you start studying diseases, when you go out to your clinicals and you're looking for signs and symptoms to try to kind of figure out what's going on. Now, regarding studying, I did mention some of the things I do to study in a previous video I did. I think it was the things I wish I had known before starting respiratory school, so you can definitely check it out there. So I might repeat some of the same things, and I'll add a few other things that I've started doing because, as we all know, you're going to study different for each class type. One technique that works in one class may not work as well in another for you, depending on time constraints or just the material itself. The main thing that I do is I make my own study guides, and I don't just take notes out of the book. Sometimes I'll do it by hand. If I'm really struggling to understand a concept or it's a lot of information, I'll actually type up a study guide on my laptop. And not only will I retype it in my own words, I don't just, take paragraphs directly out of the book unless I think that verbiage is important. I will try to reword it because if I can re-explain it accurately, it means I have a better understanding of it rather than just trying to remember a sentence out of a book, because I could remember a beautifully constructed sentence from my textbook, but then if you ask me to break it down, and I don't know how to break down this very professional and eloquent paragraph that I've just recited to you, then I don't understand it. So if you can break it down in your own words in your study guide, that's definitely helpful. Something else I do as well when I type up my study guides, if, like I mentioned before, if I'm having trouble with that subject, I will add any graphs I've found online. I will add videos about the subject, which brings me to, I'll put their information in the thingamadoo below here. 3 things actually that have really helped a lot. There is a YouTube channel called Strong Medicine, another one called MedCram, and then of course Khan Academy. These are all really great resources to use, especially if you are a visual learner. They're going to tell you about the subject, they're going to show you graphs, they're going to explain it in another way. So, and also I believe, I want to say it's the gentleman from MedCram. I think he's actually a pulmonologist as well, so he does a lot of videos that are very geared towards respiratory therapists. I believe he also has a mechanical ventilation series he's done. I haven't quite delved into that one yet because I have not started learning about mechanical ventilation, but I have a feeling that's going to be very helpful. And I may start kind of, just reviewing it to try to get a heads up on the information. So if I find one of their videos that pertains to whatever I'm learning about, I may add that in my study guide so that when I'm re-reviewing that information and going over it again, if I still have doubts, I can refer back to those videos. And if it's specific information, I also make notes of page numbers where I found that information in my book, so that if I'm not sure if I explain something right or I need to go back and review something, I'm able to quickly find it. That makes the whole process a lot faster. Now that can be difficult when you have a very condensed course like some of mine are, so if I don't have time to do that, I'll do the best I can and I'll review that information, or I will do what I've mentioned before. I'll read over and over whatever it is I'm supposed to be learning about, and instead of physically writing it down, I will re-explain it to myself. Sometimes even re-explaining something to yourself out loud is a really good technique. It's something I used to do when I would write a lot of papers, because you can write something down very quickly and it sounds really good on paper, but once you say it out loud, it kind of triggers and it helps you realize whether something actually does or doesn't make sense. Kind of like when you feel like you have a really good idea and then you say it out loud, you're like, oh, why did I want to do that? That makes no sense. That's ridiculous. Those are just a couple of the things that I do personally. If you guys have any tips of how you like to study or things that work for you, I know that there are the traditional methods such as, flashcards and just standard bullet point note taking. Let me know what you do if you use anything specific for EGANS. Making my own personal study guides, like I said, where I re-explain it in my own words and then add the additional material that I might need to it, that's been my lifesaver. Those are always the exams that I get the best grade on, when I have the time to do those really in-depth study guides. I don't really have anything else to update you on right now. I just took my final for my diagnostics, so I don't know anything on that yet. Once the semester ends, I'll probably do a video just letting you know how my first 2 semesters went overall. And then once my clinicals start, of course, I'll start updating you for clinicals once I find all of that out. I haven't quite bought anything for clinicals yet because I don't want to get anything that I'm not going to be allowed to use. And our clinical sites are still being decided. So once I figure out where I'm going and what is and isn't allowed at that particular site, then I may start gathering some things together. Anyways, that's it for today. Again, if you guys have questions or you have anything that you do that helps you study or helps you understand particularly EGANS, which is probably my most complicated book at this point. The rest are a little bit more to the point than EGANS is. Leave it down in the thingy-mabob below, and don't forget to check out those YouTube channels for study resources, okay? All right, I'll see you guys later. Why? Las Vegas heat. So I've been getting, I'm dying. Why am I dying? Oh my god. Too young for this.